Your journey can only begin when the self-doubts stop. The first step is harnessing your bravery within. Believing in you is your host, John Williams.
Hello and good day to you all. My name is Sean, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another Persevering as an Introvert episode of Bravery Within. I'd like to thank you for a few seconds here and stuff here. Just take a minute here to say thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. All the likes, all the shares that you guys are doing, everything that you guys are writing in about, telling me about what you like about the episodes, some of the things that you want to see. I'm even getting some folks that are giving me dad jokes of the day to put on the podcast, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. That means you're listening to it and you actually enjoy my podcast. And I want to thank you so much for enjoying it and tuning in. So just continue to share, like, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube page. Now that we have videos, that's going to be on there, so it's not just a black screen anymore and stuff. We're finally getting this all figured out. So I just want to say, make sure I say thank you, and I appreciate you tuning in. So today on episode 2 of Persevering as an Introvert, I thought today would be pretty good about, I think we need to discuss some of the upsides to being an introvert. It seems like all we ever do is hear about is the negative side. So what I wanted to do today is, to all my introvert friends and family members out there, episode 2 is all about benefits of being an introvert. I wanted to try to hopefully correct some of the misconceptions about us introverts. There's so many things. There's so many things that people preconceive us to be, and a lot of them are not true. They're just myths. Some of them are very true. I'm not going to argue about that one there, but a lot of them aren't. And I thought today, and I'm hoping a lot of my extrovert family members that are out there and managers and stuff that are listening to this podcast. So hopefully what I can do today is I can explain this a little bit in more detail, and hopefully you can understand where we're coming from and why we do some of the things that we do. I know we're very confusing at times. There's kind of a yin and yang. There's kind of one of those, okay, well, you're doing this, but you really mean this. I mean, I'm not going to argue. We're kind of a little different, but it's a good thing. And once you give us time to grow and get used to you, you're going to find that we're amazing to be around. We have great senses of humor. We're very loyal. We're very loving, and that's what I'm trying to do with this whole series. This is a brand new series, and as I've said through most of my podcasts and stuff to this point, is I'm an introvert. I'm 100% introvert. One of the things that I do is I do have extrovert qualities. That's probably what helped me in the management side of it all. And I do have an upcoming episode there that I talk about introverts in management. In fact, that's episode 3 that we will be talking about. But what I wanted to do today was just explain some of the benefits of being an introvert, so that way you understand why we do the things that we do. But just so you know, everybody out there, introverts have a great many things to offer to this world. I know there's extroverts, and we need you. There's no doubt about this. This isn't pitting us against you in any way, shape, or form. I don't ever want it to come across that way. But extroverts have their strengths and weaknesses, just like introverts have their strengths and weaknesses as well. And I just wanted to basically show you that introverts have a whole different side you're probably not accustomed to, used to, or even understand. And honestly, until I got divorced and turned about 35, I honestly didn't understand what being an introvert meant myself. And it took me months of digging in, research, reading, just trying to figure out what does it mean. I'd heard the term introvert, but I didn't really know what it meant. I've been called it a few times, and I kind of thought, okay, well, I don't know if that's derogatory or if that is a compliment. I'm not quite sure on that one there, but I guess it depends on where you're at and what you're doing at the time, whether it's something good or bad. I'd like to think that there's way more positive benefits and good things that we bring to the table than the negative things. And I know that, we shut down very easily. We have a hard time talking. But once we get comfortable with somebody or, a very, very, very small group of people, we can jabber your ear off. We're some of the funniest people you're ever going to meet. One thing about introverts is we don't do a lot of talking. We do a lot of thinking, and we do a ton of listening. That is probably our biggest strength, besides empathy, is just listening. You would be surprised. Extroverts like to talk. They like the spotlight on them, and that is fantastic. By golly, you guys could have it. I am not in any way, shape, or form interested in having the spotlight on me. But along with my introvert family and friends that are out there, we're not big on having the spotlight on us either. So that's where you extroverts come in, and we thank you for that. You guys can have all that. That is all yours. I'm not interested in it. But one thing that has always been kind of misconstrued, and like I said, I'll talk about this in greater detail with managers and stuff there. Actually, I have been, like I said, I have been in management for over 30 years, and this is something we'll cover in the next episode. But most managers don't know how to utilize our talents and what we can bring to the table and how we can make things better. So I thought today would be a fantastic day and not focus on the work so much. I want to focus on us away from work and what we can bring to, a friendship, a relationship, just anything like that. I want to focus on that today so that way you understand, when if you're at a party and you drag your introvert friend to a party and all of a sudden they're in the corner and you just see them not talking, they're just sitting and listening, there actually is nothing wrong. Yes, it's overwhelming. The noise of like a party or a get-together is way, it taxes us. It drains us so unbelievably fast on energy. We have to actually separate ourselves from the group and everybody else just to try to maintain some sanity. But don't ever think that we don't want to be there. Most of the time, I'll be honest, I'm not interested in being in a party or with a group of people in any way, shape, or form. But if there's somebody that wants to come over to my house or I go over to their house and there's only one or two people that I know and I feel comfortable with, hey, I'm okay. I'll talk your ear off. Let's have some good food. Let's play some cards. Anything like that there, I'm fine with. That's okay. And most of my introvert family and friends are the same way. It's just we can get overwhelmed so fast. And I don't think it's fully understood by the extroverts on how fast we can get overwhelmed. And when we do, our only defense is to shut down and stop talking. I find myself that I way much more enjoy listening to a conversation and listening to my family and friends and trying to figure out, okay, to solve a problem, to be there for them. I find that so gratifying. I find so much more joy in that than actually talking and being a part of it. I like just sitting. I can sit there for 2 hours and just listen to a conversation and never say anything. And most of my introvert family and friends are the same way. We just find it very comforting to just sit there and just listen and be part of it. We want to be part of your life. We want to be a part of your group. But you have to understand that we can only handle it in small doses, small quantities. And once you start understanding that, you'll understand us so much better. So what I would thought, I got several things. As I sat down and I was writing up my notes for the podcast, I thought I would sit down and try to think of some of the benefits that we bring to the table and to try to help you. So maybe you can find a way to utilize these talents, or you can work them into your life or something like that. So the first thing that I just want to make sure, and like I said before, we're excellent listeners. We have great listening skills. We can listen and help others without making, basically putting us in the spotlight. We're not interested in that. But what we want to do is we want to help you. And we're not going to make the conversation about us. That's one thing that drives me nuts, is when I'm talking to somebody and the first thing they do, well, this happened to me, or this is what I do, or they start heading down and they turn the conversation into all about them. And that's just a normal extrovert thing, because that's the way they are. And that's okay. That's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because like I said, we need you guys to offset us, because we're very quiet and very reserved. You guys are very upbeat and very sunshiny. We have to have both sides of the conversation. But one thing about us us introverts is we won't turn it into a conversation about us. It's extremely rare that we do. I mean, I'm not saying, and remember, there's exceptions to all these thoughts and rules and all this blah, blah, blah. But these are just a general consensus and observation of how we are. So, along with being great listeners, we are also very observant. As we're sitting there and listening to your guys' stories or problems or just your normal day, we're paying attention to all the vibes. We're listening to your body, seeing your body language. We're listening to your tone. We're watching what's going on around you, what's behind you, what's off to the side of you. There's something about us, and that's what we like doing, is we're extremely observant. We may not say much, and there's been many times when I was in management. I'm not right now, thank goodness, but when I was in management, that's one thing, is I could sit there and talk, but I could scan and watch everything going on. And a lot of my team members and stuff, they thought they were getting away with things because I wasn't paying attention directly to them. What they didn't understand is I saw everything that they did. I recorded it all in my Rolodex mind. Yes, I'm old. I said Rolodex, not Windows. But I logged all of that stuff in. And then when the conversation was done, then I'd go over and talk to them. And I would catch them completely off guard because I didn't think you were paying attention. That's one thing that we introverts excel at, is we're extremely observant, and we want to see what's going on, what's being said, what's going on here, what's going on there, that's just the way we are. So we're actually really good for catching the little things. We're pretty good at being detail oriented. Now, granted, not everybody's that way, but this is just kind of a normal, general, basic basis of what introverts are. The next thing is we make good friends, because we are very slow to accept people into our lives. For the most part, it takes a while for us to feel comfortable around you, to feel that we want to basically have you in our lives, because we have all this good energy and vibes. Now I know there's negative introverts out there. I'm not arguing that point. I know they're out there. But for the most part, most of us want to protect our good energy and vibes. And we know that being around people, or if you're always, our friends are always in a group, or always going to a party or to a bar, or something like that where there's lots and lots of people, most of the time we're not going to work you into our personal lives, because for us, we can handle it in very little doses. But the problem is it drains us so fast. And once we get drained, we're done. It's not like we can just go back and just plug our finger into the wall and basically whoop, recharge. It doesn't work that way. So we're amazing friends. If you're okay with one-on-one time, or just there's just three of us or something like that, or around playing cards or board games, or sitting on the deck talking, anything like that, then you're not going to find much better friends than us, because we want to be there for you. We want you as a part of our life. We want basically to be there and help you, support you, and build you up in every way, shape, or form. The next thing there that I learned, and I don't speak highly of myself. That's one thing that I don't know if you've picked up in all the podcasts that I've done, but I'm very hard on myself. But this one here, I feel that I'm actually really good at, and you're not going to hear me say that too many times in all my podcasts now or the future. But we're very compassionate leaders. We would do everything, and this is me personally. I had a team, and I did everything to protect them from anybody else that was cranky and upset, mad. They said they didn't get the work done. Other bosses that would come in and scream and yell. That's one thing that I was really protective of my team. So I was a very compassionate leader. I would much rather spend time building up my team, training them, working with them, and everything else, and allow them to share in the accolades and the benefits of all of our hard work than being the only person receiving the praise. 9 times out of 10, when somebody would send me a good email, or they would come up and say thank you for doing a good job, I would just point them at my team and tell them to go out there and talk to my team, so they heard it directly. I'm not interested in being told thank you all the time, or awards hanging on the wall, titles, like manager, district manager. Those mean nothing to me. To me, if I'm doing a good job, a simple thank you will go so far. And that's all I need. I don't want the spotlight on me. I'm not interested in everybody knowing what a great job I do. As long as my boss knows that I'm doing a good job and he thanks me for my time, that's good enough for me. I don't expect anything more than that. Anything above that, that's fine. But I've been in jobs. It's rare, but I have been in jobs where they'll award you in a plaque for how many years you've been with the company, and they throw you a party and stuff there. That really makes me uncomfortable. All the last 3 places I've worked at, they celebrate my birthday and they tell everybody about it. I don't like that stuff. I don't like people knowing about my birthday. I don't talk about it. I don't celebrate it. Nothing. And it drives me nuts when they do that stuff. And I wish they wouldn't, because it puts a spotlight on me, and I'm not interested in that. I in no way, shape, or form do I want that happening. So I want that going to my team. So I know that I'm a very compassionate leader. There's been many, many times that my team would come in and they need to talk, whether it's on a personal level or what it is, something is going on at home, something's wrong with the kiddos or a spouse or whatever it is, they would come in and sit down and talk to me. And I would stop what I'm doing and turn all of my attention to them at that time, just to let them know this is how much that they mean to me. I want to be there for them. I want to help them if I can. So we're very compassionate leaders. I think that's a very good thing for management. Another thing is we are extremely creative. One thing about introverts is our brains rarely shut off. We're always thinking, we're always dreaming, we're always planning, we're always what-ifing. I can what-if myself constantly. But being creative is incredible for having that type of person in your life, because they've made the best authors, the best painters, just anything like that for being creative wise. That's the kind of hobbies that we seek out and the kind of passions that we want. And like I said, I'm a published author. Yes, I published myself, and I'm not lucky enough to have anybody represent me yet, but I'm hoping someday they will. I've written a total of 6 books. I've published 4 of them. I'm working on a 7th one. And I'm hoping someday that, I'll have some, an agent represent me. I keep asking, but nobody will pick me up. But I'm hoping someday that they will. But for me, that's my creative side. I can't. My son is a brilliant painter. He's so good. And I wish that he would do more of it there. But me, I pick up a paintbrush and I put it on the canvas and I would screw up a stick person. It's just that way. I have zero artistic ability when it comes to painting. I have tried woodworking, I have tried metalworking, I have tried, you name it. I think I tried it because I was always trying to find an outlet for my creativity. And it wasn't until I got into a very dark place with where I was in life after the divorce, trying to take care of my son, working 2 and 3 jobs. I got into a pretty dark place, and I needed to get myself back out of it. Well, what I learned was back when before I got divorced, probably 2 or 3 years before I got divorced, I started a journal, and I made 1 entry, just 1. But that entry was 2.5, 3 pages is what it was. And I kept it all those years. And once I made it, I never went back and reread it or anything like that. But what I learned was when I went back 5 years later and read that journal entry, that one single journal entry, it terrified me because it was so dark and so scary and so graphic. And if anybody would have read that, they would have thought I would have been a serial killer. I scared myself when I went back and read it. Now, I typed it out. I didn't type it. I didn't say it. I typed it out. So, the anger that was typed in, you could see that into the Word document, how bad it was. So once I realized that I didn't want to, go down the road and talk to a counselor, and mainly because I couldn't afford it and I didn't have insurance, so I couldn't talk to a counselor. There was no way of doing that. I went to turn and I just started writing, and I turned my negativity into a positive. And it took me for my first book I wrote in 17 days, done. Now, granted, the people that helped me edit it, it took forever to edit it, and they still to this day give me guff about it. But I didn't write it to publish it. I never meant to. But my friend Rebecca, the one that's been on the show, is the one that pushed me into publishing my books. She said it was good, and each book got better and better. She loves them. She's one of my biggest fans. There's another lady out there by the name of Chris. She's probably the biggest fan that I have. She's an amazing lady. I got to work with her for years. She worked here at the clerk's office. She's phenomenal. I absolutely love her. I adore her. She's been so supportive of my son's paintings, of my writings, of the podcast. Amazing. I have some amazing people out there that follow me. And I don't feel I'm worthy of it, but I am so lucky that they're in my lives and they're a part of it. And that has spurred me on to continue writing, and also not just continue writing, but starting this podcast. It gave me the strength to do that. So we're extremely creative. We're always thinking, we're always moving, we're always jiving. So that's something that, you could use to your advantage, friendship-wise and stuff there. So I hope that helps a little bit. We're fantastic problem solvers because we think more than we talk. We have an easier time solving problems because our minds just never shut off. Most of the time, when a problem has been presented to me, as people are telling me about the problem, I already have a solution for it. I have already went through, and I have probably 3 or 4 solutions, boom, just right out of the shotgun. And that's one thing that I've been praised for, is when somebody throws a problem in front of me, I'm really good at solving it and coming up with solutions. It's not like one of those where, I just listen to you and then I just let you float out in the middle of the ocean with no help. We're great problem solvers. Like I said, not all of us introverts are that way, because I know there's some out there that, that they just don't like problem solving, and that's fantastic. That's them. And I'm not saying extroverts aren't great problem solvers. They are. This is just one of the benefits that you get from knowing us, is kind of the way that I'm bringing this across. We are extremely independent. Sometimes we're so independent that we just kind of get left off on our own. Like where I work now and stuff, there's not much supervision. They just let me do what I want, but I get the job done. I get it done for them, and I do my very best at it. I'm not goofing off, nothing like that. When something's put in front of me and I need to get it done, I get it done, and I do it to the very best of my abilities, as fast as I can get it done, because they're counting on me to get that stuff, for them, to keep the business running. If I drag my feet, then production goes downhill, and I don't want that. I mean, everybody in back's relying on that paycheck, and they're relying on me to get the stuff in for them. So that's one good thing about my boss, is he allows me to be independent, which is fantastic, because I can work. I've been micromanaged, I'm not going to lie, and it really stinks. I couldn't stand the lady that micromanaged every step of the way that I did. Even though as a department head, I still got micromanaged. Nothing is more infuriating to a manager than when you start micromanaging that person. I don't know whoever come up with that concept, but I wish they wouldn't have, because if you're putting a manager in that spot, then you should trust them and allow them to do the job. So naturally, we're just very naturally independent people, and I think that goes a long way, because we don't have to be around other people all the time. In fact, we don't want to be around other people all the time. We need our time to recharge and everything, but being independent is a strong key for us. So if you're, we're not needy in any way, shape, or form that I know of. Like I said, there's always other introverts out there that don't fall into these categories and stuff there. But what I'm trying to say is if you're trying to get to know us, these are some of the benefits of knowing us. And this is kind of, you can go all in, because you're now starting to understand us a little bit more. And I've had plenty of questions from other introverts, because they don't understand why they do certain things and why. I mean, there's nothing worse than having to do something and not knowing the why of it. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why do you expect that out of me? When I know the whys, when I know the reason of why I'm doing something, it makes it so much easier. Then I can understand it from their point. I can be empathetic. I can say, okay, why, okay, this is what they see. This is how they're viewing it, because they see a bigger picture than what I do. So it allows me, allows my empathy to kick in and say, okay, now I understand why you want me to do this way, and I'll do it. It's no problem. I have no problem following orders at work. It's no problem. I mean, if you tell me to do it, it's done. I may not like it. I may not agree with it, but it doesn't matter. That's not my call. I'm not the boss. So helping out as much as we can. But that leads into a whole nother thing. Basically, there are 4, because I keep talking about introverts, and they break us down into 4 types. Essentially, is how we're kind of, and I'm not big on titles, and I'm not being, all that stuff there, but these actually kind of make sense. So I thought I would talk to you guys about it here. There's 4 types of introverts that are in the world, and they're broke down to this. So the first one is a social introvert. This is a type of introvert that prefers small versus large groups of people. They prefer a quiet night at home over a night out. We're not saying that we're not social, that we don't want to go out. But what we have to do is we have to be very careful with our energy, because we drain so easily. And just being in a very loud, a very crash, very insane party, a concert, a bar, or anything like that is going to pull us out. It's not that we don't want to be a part of the group and be a part in the laughs and the games and everything. It's just we have to be very, very careful, because we drain, our energy drains very fast. And social introverts, you can do small groups of people. I can do small groups of people on a very limited basis. I don't like it. When I get more than a couple people in my office, I start feeling closed in. I start feeling, oh my goodness sakes, I start getting anxious, and it bothers me. And that's another introvert, another type of introvert, which is an anxious introvert. Anxious introverts often feel unsettled or nervous around people during social interactions. I get very, very closed off very, very fast if there's more than like a couple people in my office. I start thinking that even though they're ganging up on me, and the first thing that I look for is I look for the exit. And it's like, if they're standing in the exit, then I really, really get panicky. 9 times out of 10, they don't know it, but everything inside of me, there's a bell like that rings at the crossing of a railroad, where you get that ding, 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 and that's exactly what's going off in my mind, saying, we got a problem here, Houston. We need to fix this. So you have to be really, really careful, but there are anxious introverts out there. Another one is a thinking introvert. And this one here, this is where introverts in this category tend to spend a lot of time thinking. They're very introspective and creative. And these ones here, they typically will not say hardly anything. They're very, very quiet. The thinking introverts are amazing, because the ideas that they can come up with, how they see things, just their perspective of life and other people are incredible. And to know one of these is really, really neat. It's just, they just spend time thinking. So if you have problems, or you need to look at a different thing, or you need to, just basically see a problem from a different perspective, thinking introverts are amazing to have around. They'll be able to help you through pretty much anything. And the last one is an inhibited introvert. And this type of introvert tends to overthink a lot. They spend a lot of time considering a decision before doing anything. They are not rash. They don't make impulse decisions in any way, shape, or form. But once they finally make a decision, then you can pretty much bank it's the right one. They have considered the problem from so many different angles. They have thought about, okay, well, if we did this option or that option, they've actually explored all of those options mentally. They're actually pretty good to have around there for, if you have a deep, dark problem, they're a good one to have around. But just take into account, they're not going to make an instant decision. Most of us introverts will sit there and think, even while you're telling us the problem, we're going to sit there and think, and even though we're listening to you and we hear you and we look like we're paying attention, and we are, but there's still half of our brain that's already researching problems, solutions, possibility of solutions, looking at it from a different way. Can you approach it somehow different? All of that stuff is rolling in our head. So that way, when you basically get done with your question, we have an answer. We're not all that way. We're not all wired that way. But for the most part, that's pretty much how that's pretty much what we bring to the table. So, but one thing that you can also know is you might find and that introverts have a blend of all 4 of these qualities. I'm a social introvert, a thinking introvert, and basically the other 2 I don't really. I mean, anxious, I do get that way. I did say that. There's a social thinking and anxious. I'm not inhibited. I do tend to think about a problem, but I don't overthink about the problem. Being in 30 years of management, typically you can't overthink. You have to pretty much have a decision or a solution pretty much right on the spot. So you get used to really not letting that idea or that problem roll around in your head. It has to be pretty big. It has to be a pretty big decision before I'll let it sit there and just churn and churn and churn. Now, I do have plenty of those that are constantly rolling around in my head, but I'm a social introvert, I'm a thinking introvert, I'm an anxious introvert. I got 3 of the 4 right out of the shotgun that would describe me in a good way. And it's not like some people might be solely one, some might be all 4. It doesn't matter. These are just the way we're kind of broke down, and I'm trying to let everybody know out there how we're kind of working, how we're kind of programmed. And like I said there, that, you know, it's not perfect, but this hopefully will give you a little bit more of an understanding of how we are. But never doubt, there's plenty of introverts that enjoy socializing. That is something that we do, but we have to be selective on who it is. But you would be surprised. You know how many introverts I know that are actually social butterflies? They just float around and they're incredible. They're jumping into conversations and they're adding to it. They're talking. They're, you know, like me when I'm doing my podcast, my hands are all over the place. If I ever did a video, you guys would be laughing because my hands are all over the place. It's bad. I talk with my hands, and when I'm trying to figure stuff out, then my hands go even faster. I don't know if that's just like a buffering or a thinking or who knows, but it just is. But I've known a lot of introverts that are actual social butterflies, and they're all over the place, and they're fantastic. They can hold their own with an extrovert. It's just an extrovert is going to win in the end because they're just used to being part of a group. They have more energy. They have more sunshine. It's just the way they are. So most of the time they're going to beat us. You know, in a social conversation, and that's okay. In a social setting, they're going to win, but that's okay. But in a quiet setting, when they're starting to stress out thinking, oh, we should be talking about this or we should be doing that, we're going to win. I mean, we could spend all weekend, and I've spent all weekend, sometimes 4 days, never left the house, never went out. Well, I have to go outside because of Willow, but what I mean is I'm not heading out to the store or heading up to the hills or anything like that. You know, I just stay home. I mean, that's where everything that I like is. I have my movies, my books, my computer, you know, the food, all of that stuff. And to me, that's where I feel safe. And I have no problem staying here because I work 40 hours a week paying, you know, making money to pay the bills, and I don't get to spend enough time at home. So for me to spend time at home or have somebody, one of my close friends come over, to me, that is everything. I love that. I just absolutely love just sitting on the couch in my chair, having deep conversations with my friend, just like I'm talking to you right now. Willow's jumped up on my leg and I'm petting her, and that's just different things that I like doing. I don't know if you can hear her collar. Nope, I got it pretty well shut off there, but she's just right here, and that's where I recharge. That's how I feel better. That's, you know, that's the best way of doing this. So one of the last things that I kind of wanted to talk about today, I was going to work and I was writing down a bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff, and this is directly just for my introvert family and friends. We've already covered a lot today in this podcast, but I thought to close out the podcast today, there's quite a few things here, and I wanted to say these so that way you focus on happy things. There's enough things that are going on in this world that makes us upset, sad, angry, and just wanting to hide under a rock because it's so overwhelming. So what I thought is these are 11 things that I found on All About Introvert's website, and I thank you for this list. I had a lot of these, but they actually come up with a couple that I hadn't thought of, which I thank them for this one here. And it's a pretty neat website. I've been checking it out a little bit. They're all about introverts and, you know, get some information about us. So I want to thank them for this list. So these are 11 things, and I think I got all 11 things down. It's, you know, who knows? I'm kind of all over the place. The first one is we love deep conversation. Talking to someone can take up a lot of energy no matter who it's with. If an introvert is going to have a conversation, they want to make the most of it right away. And I've noticed that like even when I get together with my family on Friday nights, I start out strong talking to them, I'm doing good, and by halfway through I just pretty much just fall into my chair and I don't say much anymore, and they they do the conversation. I don't know if they've ever noticed that, but I just get to the point. It's almost like you're just run out of energy. I don't know how else to say that essentially, but that's kind of how I feel, and I just get to a point where all I want to do is just listen. And for me, that is very healing, very helpful. It's probably the best way I can say to explain it and stuff. It's just, we just find listening and having deep conversations to be very rewarding. So that's something that you can, kind of put in the old Rolodex in your mind there to remember. The second one is solitude. This is huge to me. I take a lot of trips up in the hills. I go for a lot of drives. I've explored a lot of logging trails that we have up here. And the logging trails typically don't have any more than maybe a path where tires had pushed down the grass. And that's it. And a lot of the time they don't even have gravel or dirt or anything like that there. But because our society is always so busy, so overwhelming, so noisy, always move. We have to back off and allow ourselves to recharge, because if we don't get away from all that noise, it will drive us absolutely teetotal and crazy. So that leads into the next one of recharge time. They kind of go hand in hand. For me, that's when I do my best healing, do my best thinking, do my best recharging, is when I'm away from everybody. Willow and I will jump in the truck and we'll just take off. My family's always asking, well, where are you going, Dad? Or where are you going, Sean? And it's like, I don't know, to be honest. Most of the time when I get in my truck and I just drive, I start on a road. I don't know which road it is. I just start on the road. 9 times out of 10, I got the music cranked and I'm singing along horribly. If you guys ever heard me sing, you would just like, oh, okay, change channel. It's bad. But that's how I recharge. It allows me to think a lot deeper if there's certain problems. It allows me to work through those, works through more options, just makes things a little bit easier. So solitude and recharge time to me are kind of hand in hand, but they haven't broke out into 2 separate things here, but to me they're kind of the same. Allowing silence. Now this is probably going to throw people, even introverts, this is probably going to throw you. And I've tried to get people to understand it, and my family members, they understand this with me, and once they figured out that, okay, well this is kind of cool, they've gotten better with it, and now they're comfortable with it. But in the right setting, you'll have a great time with an introvert. They're super outgoing, talkative, and in a great mood, and you'll love every minute of it. And so do we. But, like I talked about before, at some point they go silent. Just allow us to do that. If we walk away and go stand in a corner and we're just standing there, don't think anything's wrong. 9 times out of 10 there isn't. It's just we have hit our max of noise and people, and it's just like, oh, okay, I gotta back out and I gotta rethink this. I gotta allow myself to come down. It's kind of like the noise meter, from 0 to 10, 0 being quiet, 10 being loud. Most of the time when we do that, we're at 10 pushing 11 or 12, because that meter is so high up there. And the higher that meter gets, the tougher it is for us to function. And there's just times that we have to walk away. So by allowing silence, sometimes I've had friends come over and they've had a rough day. They tell me about their day and then they end it there. And we just sit in silence for half hour, 45 minutes. And you will be surprised on how comforting that is. You can sit with somebody and be completely quiet and be completely comfortable too. It takes a little work and it takes the right person to do that with, but once you experience that, it's kind of like, oh, I got to do this more often. This is really, really nice. Another thing that we like to do that makes us happy and stuff, there are hobbies. And I've covered this in my hodgepodge episodes, and I'm going to be covering it a lot in my introvert ones. Like we like long, quiet walks, especially in nature. Nature recharges us. Our furry animals and stuff there, they recharge us, and that's one of the options too, is 9. I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but you should be used to that by now with my podcast. Long, quiet walks in nature is wonderful. When I do that and I can get away and disconnect for 3, 4, 5 hours and I don't see a person and it's just Willow and I, it's fantastic. I come back and I feel so much better. which is weird, obsessing over a compelling book or TV show. I absolutely do that. To me, that makes me happy. And we talk, especially my son and I start talking about Star Trek. I mean, we geek out. And it's just like, we start quoting the episodes, we start quoting lines, we start quoting with the ships and everything there. We just geek out. And those are some of my favoriteest times with my son, is when we start geeking out like that. I can't stress that enough. To me, we bond on such a different level, and it just makes him I get so proud of him. And you guys are probably thinking out there going, what is wrong with you? And honestly, there's nothing wrong with us. I'm so proud of him. But to me, when we geek out over Star Trek, or if we have another show, there's so many shows out there. I like MASH, there's so many there. If I start listing them, my goodness, we're going to be out of time, and we're already starting to push it. Another thing that we like to do is writing our thoughts in a journal. I kind of covered that with my books and everything. I write books. I'm so proud of my books, and someday I'm hoping to be able to sell them again. Appreciating art at a museum, gallery, or concert. Oh my goodness sakes. Going to a museum is awesome. Art galleries I really, really like. I don't go to nearly enough of them. Concerts, especially like not so much as a loud... my favorite band of all time is Def Leppard. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely love and adore Def Leppard. Nickelback's another one that I absolutely love and adore. Those are great groups. But what I'm talking about is when you get to an orchestra, that type of concert. And when you get into the strings, and my favorite, musical instrument is the cello. That's how I relax. Bach's Cello Concerto No. 2 is my all-time favorite song of all time. And when I get stressed or I need to think, I pop that one in. It's almost 23 minutes long. I know every inflection, every up and down. It's incredible. But that's what helps me to recharge and helps me feel better and solve problems. So, but hobbies are the biggest thing that allow us to, basically explore our minds. That's a good way of putting it. They look around and they see the world in a different way. Like my son, he paints. He paints brilliantly. It's amazing, some of the nature scenes that he paints. It's incredible. So I'm so proud of him for doing that. I can't. I can't even do a paint by number. Let's be honest. I would mess that up too. It'd be horrible. So I just stay away from that world. It's just, no big deal. Another thing that makes us happy is thinking time. Introverts are very heavy thinkers. We analyze the situation, thinking the long-term results rather than the short-term. We're always looking for, bigger, better things. How can we solve this? How can we make it better? How can we make it more organized, more efficient? That's just something that we're very, very good at because we just constantly are thinking. So for us, thinking time is actually very, very nice. Smaller gatherings is actually, and they said it perfectly here. First, let's debunk the myth that introverts don't like people. Some are very sociable, party-going people. That being said, they get drained very quickly from these environments. They want to hang with you and your friends, but do it on a smaller scale. They still get time with people they care about and less overstimulation, and we don't get drained as fast. So if you're asking them to go out, make sure you keep, the party, the group, very, very small, 1 or 2 people, that's it. And the more that, my introvert family and me, the more that we know about those people, the more we feel comfortable, the more we're going to open up and the more that we're going to enjoy the situation. But going to a party, or a rave, and there's 30, 40 people we don't know with loud music and all that stuff, it's not going to work for us. There's no way that you could drag me to something like that. Nothing. I can't think of any reason. And it breaks my heart because like I said, I love Def Leppard. I love Nickelback. I want to see them in concert. And it's just like, there's no way that I can have all those people around me. I would just freak out. It just doesn't work for me. Helping us at an uninterrupted work time is paramount for us. If you want to get the best out of us there, managers, hello managers, I know you're out there, allow them to do basically on their own. Don't interrupt them constantly. Don't rudely disturb them. When they're in the zone, they'll get some of the best work done for you that you've ever seen. And distracting them constantly, it is not going to be good. I got to be honest with it there. I'm pretty good at it because I'm in management and I used to get 300 questions a day. You'd have a couple hundred emails you have to get through. The phone's always ringing. So I got used to being able to be disrupted and get myself back on track really quick, but a lot of people can't do that. So you have to be really, and especially introverts, you have to be really careful with that. So just so you know, when you've got a great introvert working for you, try to limit the disturbances, and you'll be amazed on what they'll get done for you. And like I said before, animals, for us, whether it's a dog, cat, fish, if you like fish, hey, that's all great. If you like the reptiles, hey, that's fantastic. But animals actually heal us. We bond with them on a different level because they don't talk, they're quiet, but yet somehow they understand us. I've never been able to figure that out. And the thing that's always amazed me is no matter where you take the cats and the dogs and everything else, you can take them to Mexico where they speak Spanish, or you can take them someplace where they speak French or Italian or German, and they understand us. They're incredible creatures. I have no idea how they do it and how they're so patient with us. But animals actually help us heal, and they actually help us recharge. So that's another thing. I'm not saying go out and get one right away because that's what you think you need. Make sure that you're going to fully take care of them and they're integrated into your family. They do everything with you and they're not just thrown in a box someplace. Don't ever get an animal if you're going to do that to them. But if you want to make them part of your life, like mine, she goes on rides with me everywhere. She's allowed on the furniture. She's got all of her own toys. Every morning before I go to work, I spend 20 minutes to a half hour with her, playing with her, talking to her, everything there. I mean, she's an actual member of the family. So that's the way she's treated. And I know there's a lot of people that is text over phone calls. This goes back to being quiet for us. I hate talking on the phone. I'm good at it, and I used to, enjoy it more. But the older I get, the less I want to talk on the phone. But hey, I can go toe for toe on a conversation with you if you want me to. Not a problem. I can talk about pretty much any subject to some detail because I work with salesmen all the time. I've worked with people, you name it. I'm really good with it. But honestly, I prefer a text over a phone call. I think when texts come out and I finally learned, hey, that's what this is, I thought it was one of the greatest inventions since toilet paper. I love texting. So that's so much nicer to allows you to articulate your thoughts a little bit more, especially for us introverts, so that way we don't just say something rash and crass. We're thinking about and formulating a good response for you. And then the last thing there is just the ones that we like the most is just working alone. Now, I can work in a group or I can work alone. I prefer to work alone because that way I can have my thoughts and I can do it my way, and I will get you the results that you need and everything that you're looking for. But working alone for us is probably the most ideal circumstance that we can get, and then with minimal distractions. That way we can maintain our full energy levels and we can keep right on a moving. So that's some of the best things, that's what makes us happy. And some of the, basically, it's a great list. I got to think all about introverts. It's the website All About Introverts. They come up with this list. I had most of these, but they come up with a couple that even I didn't think. And I want to say thank you. You guys are fantastic. You worded that so perfectly. And I wanted to make sure that you got your accolades and stuff there and your acknowledgement in my podcast. So thank you very much for doing that. So when all said and done, I'm noticing I'm running out of time here. I've pretty much used up my time for today. All I can say is, if you have an introvert friend or a manager or anything like that there, if you take some of these things that we've talked about today into account, you're going to find that that friend and that employee is going to be so much better for you. If you can actually work with them and support who they are and how they are, you will be surprised on how much more productivity you will get out of them and how much better the quality of work is. And like I said, in the next episode and stuff there, it's all going to be about introverts and management. So I will be covering all of that stuff there with you guys. But for this one here, all I wanted to do was just basically give you an idea of, okay, this is the way we are. This is why we do certain things. And that's what this whole series is about. It's one, to help my introvert family and friends that are out there listening to this. Sometimes you don't understand why you do things or why you have certain thoughts or whatever. These are some of the reasons. Now, if you have other things that you're not quite fully understanding, continue to listen to the podcast and I'll try to cover them. But if it's something that you want an immediate answer for, make sure that you take the time and email me. You can send it to SeanGMorris@gmail.com. I tried to put Gmail first. Apparently, I can't seem to do that. SeanGMorris@gmail.com. And I would be more than happy to talk with you and have a conversation back and forth and try to help you a little bit. And like I said in most of my podcasts, I'm a work in progress myself. I am still trying to figure all of this stuff out. Especially my weight loss podcasts and stuff there. I'm still learning as we're going. I'm learning tips all the time. That's why I decided to share them and start up a podcast to help everybody out. So being an introvert is no different. I'm always learning too, but hopefully there's some things in here that's going to be able to help you and maybe make work a little bit easier, or working with an introvert a little bit easier. Some things will maybe start making sense and why we do certain things. So, but all I can say is to my introvert family and friends out there, be proud of who you are and don't sacrifice yourself for anyone. Don't change. Be the best person that you can, and it'll come around. And some people are never going to understand you. That's just the way it is. I have people that don't understand me, and that's fine. And I don't even try anymore to get them. If they ask questions, hey, I'm all about, I'll tell you, this is the way we are, or this is the way I am, and I, remember, these are all generalizations. This should cover the playing field a little bit. So if you're trying to get to know us better, this is the best way of going about it. So, all right, introvert friends, let the overthinking begin. That's what we're known for, so let it rock and roll. So, thank you very much for tuning into my podcast. Remember, you got this. I believe in you, and I know absolutely you're going to make it through the day. You're going to end it on a positive note. Remember, if you're listening to these podcasts, please like, share, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you get all the alerts and all the information. My Facebook page, make sure you shoot me a like, make some comments on there. You're more than welcome to. Share it with everybody, your friends, your family, your acquaintances, your worker friends, everything. Get it out there. I want to try to help as many people as I possibly can. That's the only reason I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for any other reason, but just to try to help people and try to bring a little bit of sunshine into your lives and make things a little bit better. So, all right, end of the, look at this. Oh my goodness, I bet you thought you were going to get away from this. That is the dad joke of the day. Oh my goodness sakes, you thought you were going to get away from it, but guess what? You're not. So, I'm going to end the podcast with the dad joke of the day. Here we go. Do you know why some couples go to the gym? Because they want their relationship to work out. I love that one. I thought that was pretty cool. Thanks so much there for listening in. Let the groaning begin and let the eye rolls go after that joke. Thanks so much for tuning in. You guys are amazing. Thanks for being so awesome. And as always, all my love and support